At ground zero, the savanna operates under a brutal thermal boundary layer. Here, relentless shortwave radiation bombards the exposed Earth, engineering a microclimate of perpetual drought and extreme photochemical stress. For the fauna, this environment imposes a severe metabolic tax. Ground-level survival dictates extreme morphological adaptations, especially when tracking highly venomous, cold-blooded prey camouflaged within the dry biomass. Most avian predators patrol above the heat haze, but one apex hunter has chosen to abandon the sky, evolving elongated tarsimetatarsus bones, engineered to deliver a blunt force strike, capable of shattering a cobra's skull with a single calculated step. The secretary bird Sagittarius serpentarius. Emerging from the heat shimmer, this apex raptor operates as a strictly terrestrial anomaly. Classified as a raptor, it has abandoned the sky for a relentless terrestrial patrol. Traversing up to 30 kilometers a day, its anatomy is a lethal biomechanical paradox. The elongated legs of a wading bird, weaponized with the flesh-tearing talons of an eagle. A microscopic rustle in the desiccated grass. A puff adder, a master of ambush, navigates the thermal shadows. Every muscular contraction is utterly silent, but it has trespassed into a biological radar zone. The secretary bird locks on. The savanna holds its breath. A high-stakes biometric standoff. The viper coils into a spring-loaded strike position, fangs primed with a tissue-melting hemotoxin. Distance, under 2 meters. The bird does not flinch. It meticulously shifts its center of gravity, presenting its keratin-armored legs as bait and shield. One miscalculation means death. The threshold is breached. To avoid a fatal bite to the beak, the bird dictates the kill zone. It unleashes a kinetic execution, a specialized downward stomp delivering 5 times its own body weight in a fraction of a second. Contact time, exactly 1.5 milliseconds, 10 times faster than the blink of an eye. The secretary bird completely outpaces the snake's neural reflexes, instantly shutting down any counterattack. No energy is wasted on sight. Clamping the defeated viper in its beak, the secretary bird deploys its 2-meter wingspan, instantly generating massive lift. It takes to the sky, hauling the toxic payload into the heat haze. A flawless, lightning-fast extraction. Ascending through the blistering heat, the female secretary bird transports her payload. Down below, the savanna bakes under a relentless solar assault. But at this altitude, the secretary bird chicks await. Their hyperactive metabolic engines demand a relentless supply of pure protein to fuel rapid bone and feather synthesis. The mother meticulously portions the snake into precise, digestible fragments. Because venom must be injected to be effective, ingested orally, the toxic proteins are completely harmless to the chicks. Tormented by relentless hunger, a honey badger intercepts the scent of the biological payload drifting down the thermal currents. Anatomically engineered for subterranean excavation, climbing contradicts its entire biomechanical design. Gravity is its absolute enemy. Its blunt digging claws struggle to find purchase on the unyielding acacia bark. The aerial fortress is officially compromised. The gentle nurturer vanishes. Unfurling her wings, the mother plummets, intercepting the intruder with a ruthless aerial strike. Overwhelmed by the localized impacts, the badger's precarious grip completely fails. Gravity reclaims the scavenger, sending it crashing to the dirt. Crashed back to the unforgiving dirt, the battered scavenger retreats into the brush, its hyperactive metabolism still tormented by an unyielding, unfulfilled hunger. The adrenaline surge subsides, cortisol levels drop. As the solar engine powers down, the savanna is bathed in the fading golden spectrum of dusk. the acacia tree returns to a state of absolute tranquility. After a day defined by evolutionary brutality, the biological investment is secure for another night. As the earth tilts back toward the sun, a fragile truce is bathed in gold. The deep chill of the night slowly dissolves, allowing the entire ecosystem to begin its daily cycle of thermal respiration. Life is already in motion. Yet, in these low-light hours, vision is easily deceived. Survival relies on an ancient biological radar, every creature decoding the subtle chemical signatures carried by the morning breeze. It appears perfectly serene, but on the savannah, peace is often just an optical illusion. Even awake, resting within the mother's physical perimeter maintains a parasympathetic baseline. This lowers the cub's heart rates, conserving critical metabolic energy before mobilizing. Even in the heart of the sun-baked African savanna, the riverbank creates a localized microclimate. The damp earth offers a crucial thermal refuge from the surrounding extreme solar radiation. An adult female exhibits a classic state of energy conservation. By lowering her basal metabolic rate during peak daylight, she preserves vital adenosine triphosphate, the chemical energy required for anaerobic hunting sprints. Through controlled grappling, the lions learn bite inhibition and calibrate their center of gravity. Every interaction stimulates neuroplasticity, wiring the predatory circuits of their developing brains. Hydration demands immense vulnerability. As the adult female lowers her head to drink, her peripheral vision is severely compromised. While the young lion rapidly depletes its anaerobic reserves fighting the current, the apex reptile executes a zero-wake approach, a lethal masterclass in hydrostatic stealth. Trapped in the kill zone, the exhausted cub is milliseconds from structural failure. Propelled by its undulating tail, the crocodile closes in, nictitating membranes shielding its corneas. In a fraction of a second, the cub is violently extracted from the aquatic strike zone, demonstrating the absolute biological imperative of safeguarding genetic investment. Breaking the surface, the illusion of aquatic buoyancy gives way to crushing terrestrial gravity. The lioness hauls her saturated cub onto the embankment, overpowering the drag of the mud. Back on solid earth, the immediate peril washes away with the river water. The lioness gently guides her soaked cub into the safety of the tall, sun-baked grass. Here, the frantic rhythm of survival finally slows. Their racing heartbeats gradually settle, syncing once more with the gentle pulse of the savannah. The rest of the litter gathers close. This physical warmth and shared scent reaffirm their bond, wrapping the young in an invisible blanket of absolute security. Far from the river's sanctuary, the vast expanse of the savannah bakes under the zenith of the equatorial sun. Here, the thermal dynamics shift. Rising heat waves distort the horizon, creating an optical mirage that masks the relentless engine of survival. For millions of other inhabitants, there is no reprieve. The biological arms race marches on, hidden in plain sight amidst the swaying golden grass. Under the harsh glare of the rising sun, the pride enters a period of metabolic recovery. The cubs nurse, drawing upon highly concentrated, lipid-rich milk essential for their rapid cortical development. But this maternal investment carries a steep physiological cost. Every ounce of nourishment transferred to her offspring pushes the lioness closer to a critical energy deficit. Survival now dictates a harsh calculation. To sustain them, the mother lion must leave them. The lioness caches the litter in dense cover, relying on their instinctive stillness and camouflaged rosettes to evade diurnal predators. Shedding the role of a nurturing mother, her musculoskeletal system locks into stealth mode. The peaceful interlude is over. The daylight pursuit of calories has begun. The lioness initiates a complex visual sweep. She is not merely observing, she is actively processing a dynamic dataset of biomechanics from the grazing herd ahead. The lioness's binocular vision isolates an initial target, but a rapid biomechanical assessment reveals the energy cost would be too high. The lioness aborts this option, shifting focus to scan the herd for a more nutrient-dense alternative. The lioness drastically lowers her physical profile, merging with the sun-scorched grass while preloading her muscles for explosive speed. Every step forward is an act of precise biomechanical control. The lioness has locked onto a suitable nutritional target. Ahead, spotted hyenas dismantle a fresh wildebeest. Their massive jaws generate crushing force, shearing through solid bone to access nutrient-rich marrow. The lioness watches, calculating the risk. Stealing this kill from the hyenas, a behavior known as kleptoparasitism, bypasses the severe physical exhaustion of a hunt, but confronting an agitated clan carries the threat of fatal injury. The carcass's caloric value outweighs the risk. The lioness locks onto the feeding hyenas, deciding to use superior mass and psychological shock to shatter the clan's formation. Fast-twitch muscle fibers ignite, launching the lioness into a full anaerobic sprint to violently scatter the hyenas and claim the prize. The lioness breaches the perimeter, utilizing massive momentum to scatter the first line of hyenas. Spotted hyenas are highly evolved for mobbing. The clan regroups, attempting to flank the lioness and target vulnerable hindquarters to sever crucial tendons. A high-stakes tactical defense begins. The lioness pivots aggressively, keeping heavily muscled forequarters facing the attackers. A single swipe from the lioness's claws can deliver a lethal laceration. The kleptoparasitic raid succeeds. As the hyenas retreat, the exhausted lioness secures the wildebeest carcass. The critical proteins and lipids gained here will sustain the lioness's hidden cubs. Panting to regulate core temperature, the lioness assesses the wildebeest carcass. Securing this massive caloric yield triggers a state of deep biological satisfaction. Securing a firm cervical grip, the lioness utilizes immense shoulder strength to haul the dead weight. Dragging a carcass heavier than her own mass requires phenomenal anaerobic exertion over the rough terrain. The cub's digestive systems are in an active state of transition, supplementing lipid-rich maternal milk with easily digestible, iron-heavy organ meat. Specialized carnassial teeth shear through dense muscle fibers, rapidly converting raw protein into vital growth. Within this unforgiving ecosystem, securing such a massive caloric prize guarantees the family's survival for another few critical days. As the Earth's rotation obscures the sun, Rayleigh scattering paints the savannah in low-frequency red and orange wavelengths. The intense thermal energy of the day rapidly dissipates into the cooling atmosphere. For the lioness, the creeping twilight signals a critical tactical advantage. Behind the retinas, a specialized reflective layer, the tapetum lucidum, amplifies the gathering of residual photons, perfectly calibrating visual perception for the nocturnal hunt. The savannah transitions entirely from a visual landscape to an acoustic and olfactory battlefield. Under the heavy cover of darkness, survival is no longer dictated by who can see, but by who can sense the unseen. Within this dense, tangled microclimate, smaller species do not merely hide, they integrate. Utilizing rapid thermoregulation and acute seismic sensitivity, they turn the interlocking root systems into an advanced early warning grid. Driven by intense resource competition, species have evolved specialized morphological weaponry, from reinforced armor plating to high-impact kinetic appendages. Every physical clash is a calculated gamble of the victor claims the ultimate ecological prize, exclusive access to caloric reserves and reproductive rights. In this harsh coastal fortress, conflict is the crucible that forces evolution forward. Beyond the relentless salt winds, the dense interior of the coastal scrub forms an impenetrable biological shield. Here, the interlocking canopy creates a stable microclimate, protecting life from the scorching ultraviolet radiation. Survival here is not always a physical clash. It is a masterclass in energy conservation. Daily behavioral rhythms are strictly dictated by the shifting temperature gradients. Deep within the scrub, a sounder of wild boars engages in intensive soil bioturbation. Their highly modified snouts act as powerful biomechanical plows, guided by an olfactory cortex capable of detecting subterranean caloric reserves. Intently focused on foraging, they are completely unaware that their body heat has just exposed their exact location to a hidden predator. A tiger relies on its natural camouflage. Its vertical stripes blend perfectly with the shadows of the palm leaves, making a 200-kilogram predator completely invisible. Wild boars possess an exceptional sense of smell, often surpassing that of dogs. To counter this, the tiger continuously monitors the airflow, moving strictly upwind so its scent is blown in the opposite direction. A tiger's paw is a masterpiece of sound suppression. Thick fat pads absorb the entire weight of its body, while a specialized ligament system keeps the claws fully retracted, ensuring absolute silence. Nature is unpredictable. A sudden micro-shift in the coastal wind alters the airflow. Instantly, the tiger's chemical signature is carried directly into the boar's highly sensitive snouts. The boar's olfactory receptors process the predator's scent in milliseconds. A massive adrenaline dump floods their system. Forced to react, the tiger abandons stealth. Its fast twitch muscles fire simultaneously, releasing the stored elastic energy to launch 200 kilograms forward. The kinetic chase officially begins. The ambush explodes into a high-speed pursuit. Propelled by massive muscle contractions, the 200-kilogram predator accelerates to 60 kilometers per hour in seconds. But this is a biological ticking clock. It must secure the kill before lactic acid paralyzes its legs. But an apex predator is built to bypass chaos. The tiger's visual cortex instantly filters the distractions, locking onto a single, slightly slower individual. The death sentence is signed. Every ounce of kinetic energy is now laser-focused on this one prey. The violent transaction is complete. The rest of the herd survives another day, leaving the weakest behind. For the tiger, this blood-soaked victory provides a massive influx of calories, fueling its reign over the unforgiving coastal scrub. Driven by deep-rooted instincts, the apex predator seeks the sanctuary of the dense scrub. It claims a hidden refuge, a quiet space where the lingering scent of the hunt can safely dissolve into the evening breeze. In the pitch-black canopy, a marvel of evolution illuminates the dark. Under this gentle glow, the sovereign of the scrub quietly watches over the sleeping forest. The Serengeti, a hyper-competitive biome where survival is dictated by a brutal trophic hierarchy. This constant biological warfare drives an escalating evolutionary arms race. Prey adaptations are continuously tested by the refined lethality of apex predators. When trophic levels collide, the ensuing clash is governed strictly by biomechanics and brute force. Here, the right to exist is won in fractions of a second. Under the vast equatorial sky, the savannah operates as a massive, solar-powered thermodynamic engine. Here, specialized grasses efficiently convert photons into dense caloric biomass, creating a foundation of apparent serenity. Roaming across this sun-drenched landscape, vast biological consortiums of primary consumers engage in peaceful, synchronized foraging. Their methodical movements facilitate essential nutrient cycling, maintaining the very ecosystem that sustains them. Yet, this tranquil equilibrium is ecologically fragile. As heads lower to maximize caloric intake, collective vigilance naturally degrades. They exist in a state of naive comfort, entirely unaware that the savannah's gentle thermal hazes and acoustic interference are precisely the variables required for a predator's perfect concealment. Hidden within the tall grass, a coalition of cheetahs engages in strict metabolic conservation. This resting phase is a physiological necessity, preserving crucial ATP reserves within their fast-twitch muscle fibers. In moments, this metabolic reserve will ignite, transforming static observation into a high-speed predatory pursuit. For the female antelope, endocrine cascades trigger intense uterine contractions, initiating the complex physiological mechanics of parturition. The antelope calf emerges, encapsulated within the amniotic sac. Lowering its center of gravity to utilize the microtopography, the cheetah assesses the target. It calculates the mother's flight response against the neonate's zero mobility, waiting for the optimal strike geometry. This membrane must rupture to facilitate the vital transition to pulmonary respiration. The stalk requires absolute biomechanical control. The cheetah executes precise digitigrade locomotion, absorbing impact through specialized digital pads to negate acoustic interference. Adrenaline surges, priming the cheetah's fast-twitch muscles for explosive output. The predatory calculus is complete. Kinetic release is imminent. The kinetic chain erupts, unleashing the absolute pinnacle of terrestrial speed. The cheetah's hyperflexible spine coils and fires like a biological spring, launching it over 7 meters in a single fluid bound. Burning fiercely on anaerobic metabolism, the cheetah is racing its own biology. The sensory network shatters. A massive surge of cortisol triggers an instant flight response. The peaceful grazing collective violently dissolves into a storm of erratic, high-speed trajectories. But the savannah's math is ruthlessly pragmatic. To secure its genetic future, the herd actively abandons the slough. The mother and her neonate are left exposed, the unavoidable ecological toll. Still encased within the amniotic membrane, the neonate is ecologically anchored a static target devoid of any kinetic defense. The cheetah strikes, a flawless execution of predatory geometry, capitalizing on the ultimate biological vulnerability. But savanna ecology is profoundly non-linear. An olive baboon intercepts the sequence, driven not by interspecies altruism, but by complex territorial aggression. This dominant primate actively disrupts the apex predator's focus. An adult baboon intervenes. This is not interspecies empathy, but preemptive predator harassment. The primate views the cheetah as a threat to its own troop, using its 2-inch canines to actively drive the feline out of its foraging ground. Built exclusively for speed, the cheetah possesses a highly fragile anatomy. According to optimal foraging theory, fighting about guided by primal instinct, the newborn takes its first wobbly steps. It drinks the colostrum, a biological liquid gold packed with maternal antibodies, gifting its fragile immune system the ultimate armor for the life ahead. As the golden hour bathes the plains, the relentless heat of the savannah surrenders to dusk. Nature declares a quiet, fleeting truce. For today, the fragile pulse of life has triumphed. Under the fading light, they are safe. Nature's most breathtaking landscapes often hide the deadliest arenas. The Chulishman River Valley, a fortress of stone carved by ancient ice. Beneath these towering cliffs, life finds a rhythm. Summer brings a burst of energy to the valley, but the season is brief, urging every creature to make the most of it. In this vast landscape, success belongs to those who know how to adapt and thrive. a sounder of wild boars is busy at work. For them, the dry earth holds a hidden feast. Using their powerful snouts as living plows, they easily unearth nutrient-rich roots hidden below. In the natural world, serenity is fragile, and the atmosphere can shift in a single heartbeat. The water is a lifeline, but the river's edge is a deadly lottery. Submerged in the shallows, a master of camouflage waits in absolute silence. Further along the riverbank, the valley reveals a softer side. For an expecting lioness, the peaceful shallows provide a quiet sanctuary to prepare for new life. Bringing new life into this unforgiving wilderness is an exhausting physical trial. Every muscle strains as her body prepares to deliver the next generation of Altai's kings. A primal roar breaks the silence. The storm of labor passes, replaced by a profound maternal instinct. Taking their very first breaths, the newborns are immediately comforted by the coarse, reassuring strokes of their mother's tongue. As the weeks pass in the valley, the cubs have transformed from fragile newborns into robust apprentices. Resting in the cool shallows, the lioness gently grooms her young. For the tiger family, play is survival. Each pounce hones their deadly ambush skills. A herd of wildebeests grazes peacefully in the open valley. They rely on hundreds of eyes and ears for a collective defense. But the tall summer grass provides a false sense of security. They are entirely oblivious to the phantom watching from the shadows. Raising growing cubs demands a staggering amount of energy. To sustain her family, the tigress must now put her deadly skills to the ultimate test. She begins her calculated advance. Her striped coat acts as disruptive camouflage, breaking up her outline. Specialized soft pads on her paws absorb every footfall, allowing her to move like a ghost through the brittle brush. Beneath her skin, powerful muscles coil like tightly wound springs, storing immense kinetic energy for the final explosive sprint. The margin for error is absolute zero. Wildebeests possess highly evolved sensory networks. A single alarm snort from a sentinel triggers an instantaneous chain reaction. A sudden shift in the wind, a snapped twig, the fragile piece is instantly shattered. Panic spreads like a biological wildfire. Pure survival instinct takes over, launching hundreds of bodies into a chaotic yet synchronized stampede. Thousands of hooves pound the baked earth, kicking up a massive smokescreen of dust. This is a deliberate defense mechanism designed to confuse the predator's visual tracking. Beneath the lioness's skin, powerful muscles coil like tightly wound springs, storing immense kinetic energy for the final explosive sprint. The margin for error is absolute zero. In this blinding rush, speed is the wildebeest's only shield. The valley echoes with the thunder of survival as the wildebeests race to outrun death itself. The valley erupts into absolute chaos. A frantic stampede of wildebeests tears across the plains. Breaking cover, the lioness unleashes her full, terrifying speed. The herd's collective defense shatters into an every animal for itself scramble. Desperate hooves pound the earth, trying to outrun the inevitable. But one will not be fast enough. The gap closes. Lethal claws dig deep into thick hide. The lioness securely latches onto the massive prey. The struggle sends a shockwave across the Chulishman Valley. The surrounding wildlife stands paralyzed, silent witnesses to the harsh, unforgiving reality of the food chain. Time in the Altai Mountains seems to stand entirely still. Overhead, scavenging eagles circle in anticipation. A precise, suffocating bite to the windpipe delivers a swift end. The hunt is over. The energy of the fallen wildebeest will now sustain a new generation. As the lioness claims her hard-won kill, the brutal balance of the wilderness is restored. Driven by maternal instinct, the lioness swiftly carries the vital nourishment back to the safety of her den. For the growing cubs, this meal is an invaluable infusion of life. The fresh meat delivers crucial proteins required to build strong muscles and wire their predatory instincts. Here in the Chulishman Valley, the tragic fall of one creature sustains the legacy of another, honoring the ruthless yet beautiful cycle of the wild. As the sun finally dips below the rugged peaks of the Altai, the chaotic dust of the hunt has settled, replaced by a profound, heavy silence. The valley breathes once more. But in this unforgiving wilderness, every sunset is just a brief pause in the wild's eternal, beautiful cycle of life and death. For months, this fractured earth has endured a state of suspended animation. This is not merely a change in weather, but as barometric pressure plummets, a volatile chemical signal rides the incoming winds. It is a violent continent-wide biological awakening. Down below, the larger herbivores anchor themselves against the blinding dust squalls. They do not flee. High in the canopy, intricate avian architecture faces its ultimate mechanical stress test. Then, the atmospheric dam breaks. Millions of gallons of water crash against the parched soil, instantly supercooling the savannah and washing away months of desperate endurance. Amidst the deluge, a quiet biological marvel unfolds. Transforming her feathers into a living, hydrophobic canopy, she does not merely block the rain, she radiates life-saving endothermic heat, turning her own fragile body into an absolute sanctuary. As the storm's initial fury softens into a steady, life-giving rhythm, the savannah's smallest residents emerge from their sanctuaries. The deluge is no longer a threat. It is an evolutionary spa. Embracing the sudden moisture, they engage in a meticulous, instinctual ritual. As the storm clouds fracture, the saturated earth responds with an explosive biological bloom. The savannah is instantly flush with invertebrate life. Driven by the insatiable metabolic demands of their growing chicks, the parents are locked in an exhausting cycle of aerial foraging. Every delivery of high-yield protein is a delicate calculation of energy spent versus energy gained. A cold-blooded opportunist decodes the chemical trails left by the parents' frantic departures. Exploiting this brief, unguarded window, the predator closes in. Nature's newfound abundance is about to be violently redistributed. Closing the final inches, the serpent coils its kinetic frame for a lethal strike. But the predatory sequence is violently shattered. Fueled by maternal hyperaggression, she weaponizes her own body, forcing the cold-blooded opportunist into a sudden retreat. the immediate threat dissolves into the canopy. Through sheer maternal force, the biological investment is secured, and the fragile genetic lineage survives the daylight. To the untrained eye, a resting pride appears indolent, but this profound lethargy is a masterpiece of energy conservation. Engineered as a hyper-carnivore, its frame is built for brief, catastrophic explosions of kinetic force. Here, every calorie saved is a weapon stored. They are the only felines on Earth to have weaponized social architecture. When these apex tacticians finally rise, they do not merely hunt, they execute a devastating biological algorithm. Yet, the lion's absolute dominion ends abruptly at the water's edge. Here, the savannah's feline algorithm meets its ultimate evolutionary match. An ancient relic of the archosaurs, the Nile crocodile does not rely on speed. It operates on hydrostatic stealth, utilizing dermal pressure receptors to detect the microscopic ripples of a thirsty pride. Suspended in absolute buoyancy, this armored leviathan trades social tactics for sheer biomechanical violence, a crushing force of 5,000 pounds per square inch, designed not to slice, but to drown. When mammalian heat meets reptilian patience, the hierarchy of the wild is suspended. In this transitional zone, the crown is always contested. As the dry season tightens its grip, the savannah's fluid lifelines evaporate into isolated, muddy depressions. For the feline apex, the biological mandate for hydration begins to override their inherent caution. To drink is to surrender the sensory high ground. Lowering their heads, their peripheral vision is severely compromised. They have stepped into an ecological choke point, the absolute domain of the ambush sovereign. Submerged in the turbid depths, a prehistoric titan recalibrates its buoyancy. It does not hunt by sight in these murky waters. Guided by a network of dome pressure receptors, it reads the exact coordinates of the pride, locking onto the rhythmic, microscopic vibrations of their lapping tongues. Survival here is a microsecond calculation of reflexes, feline fast-twitch fibers firing against the archaic snap of reptilian jaws. In a fraction of a second, static tension detonates into aquatic violence. A ton of armored muscle defies gravity, launching a kinetic strike engineered to drag mammalian heat into the crushing dark. The ambush dissolves, but the message is brutally clear. At the water's edge, survival is nothing more than a negotiated truce. For the absolute monarchs of the savannah, the toll for a single drop of water is the constant, looming shadow of death. The violent kinetic exchange ceases. As adrenaline metabolizes, both predators retreat to their respective domains, trapped in a biological stalemate dictated by the limits of energy expenditure. The waterhole slowly reclaims its deceptive tranquility. In the broader ecological calculus, this clash was never a war of malice. It was simply a brutal negotiation of boundaries, where water is the ultimate currency. As the equatorial sun bakes the memory of this encounter into the fractured earth, the savannah prepares for the nocturnal shift. The felines will heal, the leviathan will wait. For in this ancient theater of survival, there are no permanent victors. There is only the eternal, unforgiving rhythm of life, demanding resilience from every beating heart. Here, life does not simply exist, it marches, and the wildebeest are the undeniable pulse of these plains. Gathered by the millions, they are driven by an ancient, inescapable biological clock. Right now, it dictates only one thing: refuel. In this shimmering heat, the herd appears entirely at peace. Their synchronized grazing engineers the savannah. By stripping the coarse stalks, they return vital nutrients to the exhausted earth. But on the savannah, peace is merely an illusion, a brief, fragile pause before the hunters awaken. Out here, a single misstep is a fatal liability. There is no compassion in the wild. In the brutal calculus of survival, the vulnerable simply become an involuntary shield for the strong. The savannah is not at peace. It is merely holding its breath. In the oppressive midday heat, the apex predators of the savannah appear remarkably subdued. A pride can sleep up to 20 hours a day. It is not lethargy, but a highly evolved strategy of energy conservation. But hunger is a persistent alarm clock, and the matriarchs are always the first to answer its call. Her amber eyes possess 6 times the light sensitivity of a human. She is not just observing, she is calculating distance and isolating the vulnerable. Every subtle shift in the wind is analyzed to mask her scent, and every tuft of dry grass is mapped as potential cover. The rest of the world fades away, leaving only the precise geometry of the impending ambush. A few hundred yards away, the wildebeest remain anchored in a false sense of security. The wind sweeps across the plains, carrying their scent directly to the predators, masking the danger downwind. The lion's muscles stretch, preparing for anaerobic bursts of speed. Every member of the pride instinctively understands their role in the complex geometry of the ambush. The syndicate is mobilized. The savannah is a theater of profound indifference. The sun beats down on the dry earth, oblivious to the drama about to unfold. In this vast arena, survival is dictated by mere inches and fractions of a second. Yet, beneath this tranquil facade, nature remains ruthlessly impartial. It takes no sides. It merely provides the stage for the drama ahead. The script has already been written by millions of years of evolution. All that is left is the execution. And on this stage, the opening act is about to be written in dust and instinct. And the lead predator is already in position. The lead lioness utilizes the sun-bleached grass as a perfect cloak of invisibility. Walking on her toes, she minimizes contact with the dry foliage. Her shoulder blades absorb the impact, ensuring complete silence. She becomes a ghost in the grass. Head lowered to the earth, the wildebeest's field of vision is drastically reduced, a fatal blind spot. The lioness must close the gap to within 30 yards. She presses her belly flat against the scorching earth, exploiting every minor depression in the terrain to stay completely out of sight. Suddenly, a shift in behavior. The chewing stops, the ears flick forward. Has a shifting breeze betrayed the hunters? Or is it an instinctual premonition carved by millions of years of evolution? The tension becomes palpable. The silence is deafening. The lioness knows her cover is blown. Stealth must now be traded for explosive power. Her massive hind legs engage, propelling her forward with terrifying acceleration. The ambush is over. In a fraction of a second, the lioness's heart rate doubles, flooding her muscles with oxygen for the ultimate sprint. Her entire being is locked onto the target. From here on out, the slightest hesitation will turn a perfect ambush into total failure. The ancient dance of predator and prey has officially begun. The savannah shatters. Panic seizes the lone wildebeest, triggering a desperate flight for survival. The lioness erupts from the sun-scorched grass. At full sprint, she covers 50 feet a second. Her spine flexes like a coiled spring, maximizing each explosive stride. This is a deadly high-stakes race against her own rapidly rising body temperature. A collective wave of panic ripples through the herd, turning thousands of individuals into a single, fleeing organism. Panic seizes the lone wildebeest, triggering a desperate flight for survival. For the wildebeest, survival is brutally simple. You don't have to be the fastest in the herd, you just can't be the slowest. The swirling dust and a maze of galloping hooves are a defensive mechanism, designed to disorient the predator's focus. The gap closes. The impact is catastrophic. The lioness uses her formidable weight, nearly 300 pounds of pure muscle, and momentum to unbalance the fleeing wildebeest, grounding the heavy herbivore with calculated precision. The wildebeest's struggle inevitably subsides. The lioness clamps her powerful jaws over the prey's windpipe, applying hundreds of pounds of pressure to induce a swift, oxygen-deprived end to the ancient chase. This exhausting hunt is a triumph, securing a massive influx of calories, enough vital protein to sustain the lionesses for several days. The scent of a fresh wildebeest kill travels fast, acting as a beacon for opportunistic scavengers like hyenas and vultures. For now, however, the lion pride has earned its feast, metabolizing this vital energy to fuel the next generation of apex predators. The lion pride's feast begins. Nothing goes to waste on the savannah. To access the nutrient-rich meat, the lionesses must first breach the wildebeest's tough hide. They utilize specialized carnassial teeth at the back of their jaws, acting like biological shears to slice through thick skin and muscle with devastating efficiency. The hunters instinctively target the nutrient-dense internal organs first, the liver, heart, and kidneys, extracting maximum vitamins and trace minerals essential for their survival in this harsh environment. An adult lioness can consume up to a quarter of her own body weight in a single sitting. Her highly acidic stomach is perfectly adapted to rapidly digest massive quantities of raw protein, neutralizing potential pathogens found in the wild meat. As the pride gorges themselves, they are inadvertently preparing the carcass for the ecosystem's secondary consumers. Vultures and hyenas circle the perimeter, waiting for their turn at the ecological table. The wildebeest's sacrifice is converted into vital energy, ensuring the reign of these apex predators continues over this golden realm for another day. Mere hundreds of yards from the kill site, a jarring tranquility reclaims the savannah. The surviving wildebeest herd transitions instantly from primal panic to serene indifference. This rapid emotional reset is not callousness, but a vital evolutionary adaptation. Herbivores cannot afford to expend precious calories on lingering stress. In this wild kingdom, death is merely a brief interruption to the relentless rhythm of life. Dawn breaks over the African savannah, a sprawling theater of survival. Here, the brutal dry season dictates the rhythm of life. The heat is unforgiving, and the earth is baked to bone. They move as one entity, instinctively drawn to the delicate dew hidden within the grass. The absolute rulers of this realm are utilizing the morning chill to draw heat away from their massive, muscular frames. Every breath of the lion pride is deep and steady. By dropping their heart rate and slowing their metabolism, they minimize water loss under the impending African sun. The lions simply rest, actively repairing fast-twitch muscle fibers to recharge for the explosive hunt ahead. Known for a solitary and volatile nature, the rhinoceros mother is a formidable force. But the rhinoceros calf is a fragile prize in a land of opportunists. The survival of the rhinoceros mother relies on more than just bulk and fearsome horns. With notoriously poor eyesight, the world of the rhinoceros mother is constantly mapped by an incredibly acute sense of hearing and smell. A faint, dangerous scent has just drifted across the savannah. Unaware of the lethal predator closing in, the rhinoceros mother and the rhinoceros calf continue to graze peacefully. This false security is the perfect biological weapon for an ambush. By suddenly standing tall, the lioness deploys a kinetic visual signal, a silent, postural command synchronizing the lion pride for a coordinated tactical strike. The lioness and the lion pride advance. Specialized paw pads absorb acoustic frequencies, turning each step into a masterclass of predatory biomechanics. The lion pride is actively shrinking the kill zone, in absolute, deadly silence. The massive ears of the rhinoceros mother swivel like radar dishes. The acoustic warning finally registers the thunder of approaching paws. The lioness utilizes a hyper-flexible spine as a biological spring, maximizing stride length to rapidly close the gap. Fueled by anaerobic respiration, the lion pride accelerates to top speed, initiating a direct, high-velocity pursuit toward the rhinoceros mother and the rhinoceros calf. The acute senses of the rhinoceros mother sharpen drastically. The smell of dust, sweat, and incoming death hits the olfactory receptors of the rhinoceros mother in high definition. Following a commanding roar, the lion pride converges on the prey, a highly coordinated biological strike force, ready to execute a fatal takedown on the sun-baked plains. The lion pride attempts a mechanical takedown. Retractable claws anchor into the thick dermal armor of the rhinoceros mother. The primary predatory objective is to sever the spinal cord or collapse the trachea, but the immense cellular density of the rhinoceros mother actively resists structural penetration. The rhinoceros mother weaponizes a 2-ton biological mass. Generating massive kinetic force, the rhinoceros mother deploys a solid keratin horn as a lethal defensive ram. Simultaneously, the rhinoceros mother actively positions her frame to form an impenetrable biological shield, effectively isolating the rhinoceros calf from the strike zone of the lion pride. Predatory risk assessment shifts abruptly. A single skeletal fracture inflicted by the rhinoceros mother equates to inevitable starvation for the lion pride. The caloric cost now exceeds the biological reward. Executing a tactical withdrawal, the lion pride aborts the assault protocol. The African savannah reclaims its equilibrium. Acute adrenaline levels within the bloodstream of the rhinoceros mother and the rhinoceros calf begin to degrade. As the solar radiation fades into dusk, dropping ambient temperatures allow the rhinoceros mother to efficiently dissipate combat-generated body heat. Biological survival is secured. The Serengeti, a vast golden crucible, operating at the very limits of biological endurance. As surface temperatures soar past 50 degrees Celsius, the moisture vanishes. The savannah enters a state of physiological dormancy. In this blinding theater of light, survival is no longer just a race against the hunter. It is a silent, masterful game of thermal economics. The dry season haunts the Serengeti. An endless plain of withered grass stretches to the horizon. The morning sun rises, revealing a cracked and thirsty earth. The herds must feed before the heat of the day sets in. The grass is dry and brittle. It offers almost no water, but hunger drives them. The morning calm is an illusion. They eat, but their senses are working in overdrive. Ears pivot independently, listening to the dry grass. Wide eyes scan the horizon. Out here, a single moment of distraction is fatal. On this scorched plain, there are no shadows to hide behind. A solitary hunter must melt into the barren earth itself. A leopard she hasn't eaten in days. Out here, the dry season strips away all margins for error. Her ribs press against her coat, but a starving predator is a focused one. Hunger sharpens every instinct. She navigates the shifting brush. Her spotted coat dissolves into the dry thicket. Perfect camouflage. Specialized pads on her paws absorb the sound of her own weight. She is reading the chemical trails left in the dust. The predator observes a dense cluster of healthy adults. Attacking such a tightly packed group carries a massive biomechanical risk. A single defensive kick from a mature animal possesses enough blunt force to shatter a leopard's rib. In this harsh environment, a fractured bone is a death sentence. The feline brain constantly calculates the probability of injury. Therefore, she abandons this approach and moves along the perimeter. She targets another flank of the grazing herd. Suddenly, the wind shifts. Scent molecules are carried forward, instantly compromising the predator's stealth advantage. Furthermore, the animals in this sector are highly alert, offering a poor probability of a successful kill. The thermal energy burned in a sprint must yield a guaranteed caloric return. Every hunt follows a ruthless biological equation of energy return on investment. The savannah is crowded with hundreds of moving animals. To overcome the visual confusion of the herd, the predator's visual cortex must filter the chaotic data. She scans the mass and isolates a single anomaly on the periphery, a slight hesitation in its gait, a momentary lapse in vigilance. Instantly, the autonomic nervous system takes over. Her heart rate drops to stabilize the core. Sustained muscular tension generates massive internal heat. Yet, the respiratory rate must be suppressed. A single pant broadcasts an acoustic warning. The predator operates on the borderline of physiological overheating and absolute stealth. Pupils dilate to maximize visual input. Muscle fibers tense, storing kinetic energy. The biological lock-on is complete. The physical gap must be closed. The leopard's skeleton is engineered for absolute stealth. Free-floating collarbones act as biological shock absorbers. They cushion the body's weight, preventing any vibration from reaching the ground. Every step is calculated to avoid a single sound. The predator slowly enters the critical ambush radius. The predator faces a formidable biological defense. The zebra herd operates as a unified sensory network. Laterally positioned eyes provide a near 360-degree field of vision. Dozens of ears constantly scan the acoustic environment. To approach, the leopard must navigate blind spots that barely exist. A micro shift in the air currents carries a foreign scent molecule. Alternatively, they detect the sudden, unnatural silence of local insects. The zebras cannot see the threat, but their nervous systems register the environmental anomaly. Muscle fibers twitch in anticipation. The leopard instantly freezes. The psychological standoff begins. The leopard breaches the flight initiation distance. Instantly, the zebra's endocrine systems release massive surges of adrenaline. Heart rates violently spike. The biological tension reaches a critical threshold. The predator must strike right now, before the herd's self-preservation instincts completely override their hesitation. The herd's sensory network detects an environmental anomaly. The zebras instantly freeze, entering a state of hypervigilance. Fleeing blindly without a directional vector is statistically lethal. It risks running directly into an ambush. Their sympathetic nervous systems are fully primed, yet they hold their ground. The predator is forced into absolute stillness. A psychological standoff begins. The ambush is triggered. The leopard's fast-twitch muscle fibers ignite, converting stored energy into lethal acceleration. The savannah erupts into absolute chaos. As the zebras flee, their overlapping stripes generate a phenomenon known as motion dazzle. This high-contrast optical illusion directly disrupts the feline's visual cortex. It destroys depth perception and makes isolating a single target incredibly difficult. The predator is forced to calculate her attack trajectory through a moving maze of flashing patterns. The leopard's fast-twitch muscle fibers ignite, converting stored glycogen into explosive kinetic energy. She accelerates to top speed in mere seconds. The hunt instantly shifts from absolute stealth to pure biomechanical power. As the zebras flee, their overlapping stripes generate a phenomenon known as motion dazzle. This high-contrast optical illusion directly disrupts the feline's visual cortex. The physical gap is closed. The leopard deploys her retractable claws, acting as biological grappling hooks to anchor onto the target's mass. She aims directly for the trachea, attempting to secure a rapid asphyxiation hold. For a fleeting microsecond, the apex predator dominates the kinetic exchange. But the prey refuses to succumb. A high-frequency distress vocalization pierces the air. This acoustic signal triggers an aggressive, altruistic response from the herd. Instead of scattering, the zebras pivot. They weaponize their sheer numbers, initiating a coordinated mobbing behavior to encircle the attacker. The power dynamic violently reverses. Equines possess massively dense hindquarters, capable of delivering blunt force trauma exceeding 1,000 pounds per square inch. A single connected kick can easily shatter a feline skull. The leopard's lightweight skeletal frame, evolved strictly for aerodynamic speed, is profoundly outmatched in a physical brawl. The savannah dictates a brutal equilibrium. There are no ultimate victors, only temporary survivors in an ongoing evolutionary arms race. Today, the herd's defensive matrix neutralized the feline's kinetic strike. For the leopard, the physiological countdown to starvation accelerates. For the zebras, the rhythmic cycle of the plains continues. As the Earth shifts its axis, the Serengeti sheds the heavy cloak of night. Dawn here is not merely a sunrise. It is a biological trigger. The sudden spike in thermal radiation resets the survival clock of millions. For the grazers, the first light offers a fleeting illusion of safety. But in this 3 million-year-old theater, visibility is a double-edged sword. driven by an ancient biological imperative. An expectant female severs her ties with the safety of the mass. The first contractions have begun. Every ancient instinct now focuses on the imminent birth, preparing her body for the most vulnerable moment on the savannah. Yet, giving birth alone is the savannah's ultimate gamble. The rush of amniotic fluid releases a potent chemical beacon, drifting miles downwind. The delivery is complete, but the physical transition is still underway. The newborn foal remains partially encased in the amniotic sac. This translucent membrane, which provided vital protection inside the womb, must now be shed. The mother acts instinctively to assist her offspring. She focuses directly on the tissue surrounding the foal's head. By licking and gently nipping at the membrane, she uncovers the face, ensuring the foal can comfortably take its first full breaths of air. The foal's instinctive drive to stand serves a vital biomechanical function here. As it extends its long legs and pushes upward, gravity and the weight of the fluid-soaked tissue work together with the foal's movement. This combined mechanical tension stretches and breaks the membrane, systematically peeling it completely away from the coat and freeing the hind legs for mobility. The first touch is gentle, yet driven by absolute urgency. By meticulously cleaning her foal, the mother isn't just showing affection, she is actively erasing the scent of birth, a vital countermeasure against predators that map this landscape by smell. Within minutes of taking its first breath, the foal faces its greatest test. It must conquer gravity. Its legs are disproportionately long, nearly adult-sized. This is not an accident of nature. It's an evolutionary masterpiece, engineered for immediate flight. As they nuzzle, an invisible, lifelong bond is forged. She deliberately stands between her foal and the rest of the world. In these quiet seconds, the newborn's brain takes a mental photograph, memorizing the unique barcode of its mother's stripes. The foal's initial steps are unsteady, but it adapts with remarkable speed. Zebras are a precocial species, born with a highly developed nervous system. Continuous walking forces blood into the foal's long legs, rapidly reinforcing the muscle coordination required to run. The mother dictates the pace, continuously assessing her foal's stamina. She is deliberately navigating her offspring out of the dense brush, taking the first calculated steps toward reuniting with the protective numbers of the herd. The shift in the wind carries the scent of the newborn foal across the savannah. A pride of lionesses intercepts this chemical signal. Their olfactory system is highly specialized, allowing them to determine the exact direction and approximate distance of their potential prey without visual confirmation. To close the distance undetected, the lionesses rely on physical adaptation. Their tawny coats blend seamlessly with the dry grass. They move in a coordinated formation, spreading out to flank the mother and her single foal. Soft, thick pads on the bottom of their paws absorb the impact of their weight, enabling them to navigate the dry terrain in near silence. The pride's strategy is dictated by their biology. Lions possess limited stamina for long pursuits, requiring them to minimize the distance before initiating a sprint. They collectively target the young foal, analyzing its unsteady movements and lack of top speed, identifying it as the highest probability target. The mother zebra continues to monitor her surroundings, but the lead lioness initiates the strike. Utilizing the massive fast-twitch muscle fibers in her hindquarters, she accelerates from a standstill to 60 kilometers per hour in just 3 seconds. The zebra's sensitive ears catch the sound instantly. Panic ripples through the herd like a shockwave, and they immediately scatter in terror. But this frontal assault is a calculated trap. By triggering the stampede, the lioness is purposely herding the panicked zebras straight toward the rest of the pride waiting in ambush. In this blinding dust and chaos, the young foal has only one lifeline. It must perfectly copy its mother's every move, or be left behind. At top speed, the fleeing herd deploys its greatest natural defense, a visual illusion. As dozens of zebras sprint and weave together, their black and white stripes merge into a dizzying blur. This phenomenon, known as motion dazzle, makes it incredibly difficult for a chasing lion to judge speed, distance, or single out one individual. The choking dust of the dry savannah only deepens the predator's confusion. The pursuit forces the herd to the edge of a fast-flowing river. They are trapped between the approaching lions and the turbulent water. Driven by the immediate threat on land, the zebras make a calculated behavioral choice. Plunging into the treacherous current presents a statistically higher chance of survival. Entering the water instantly neutralizes their speed advantage. The dense current rapidly drains their stamina. Their hooves, evolved for traction on hard savanna soil, struggle to find stability on the slippery riverbed. The mass movement creates a bottleneck, pushing the animals deeper into the channel. This massive aquatic disturbance alerts a completely different apex predator. Nile crocodiles utilize specialized sensory receptors along their jaws to detect low-frequency vibrations in the water. They can pinpoint the exact location of the struggling zebras, moving in to intercept. Driven by sheer panic, they do not pause to defend themselves. They thrash violently, using their powerful muscles simply to break the water's resistance, their visual focus locked entirely on reaching the opposite bank. This reckless crossing is a brutal evolutionary calculation. By moving as a dense, chaotic mass at maximum physical exertion, they overwhelm the predator's ability to target effectively. Individual safety is temporarily sacrificed for the forward momentum of the group. Through pure physical endurance, the vast majority scramble up the bank, successfully escaping the aquatic threat. Safe on the opposite bank, the herd's collective heart rate begins to decelerate. The massive spike of adrenaline and cortisol required for the high-speed escape slowly dissipates from their bloodstreams. The river has acted as a ruthless evolutionary filter. Those remaining on this bank have successfully passed a rigorous test of physical endurance and spatial awareness. In the savanna ecosystem, peace is merely a temporary biological reset. Their sensory radars remain active, processing the wind for the next inevitable threat. Welcome to the biological engine of the tropics. Here, the flora is heavily armored. Scattered, drought-resistant canopies employ deep taproots and modified cellular structures to hoard moisture against extreme evaporation. Across the open plains, massive herds of herbivores engage in a continuous harvest. They operate as mobile bioreactors, using multi-chambered stomachs to convert indigestible cellulose into metabolic fuel. This piece is a defensive mechanism. Eyes on the sides of their heads provide a 360-degree visual radar, while massive herd numbers drastically reduce the probability of an individual falling prey. Navigating this exposed ecosystem requires a distinct biomechanical strategy. Baboons utilize specialized quadrupedal locomotion, engineering their musculoskeletal framework to endure prolonged exposure and traverse vast distances across the open plains. Their primary defense is not camouflage, but complex social architecture. The troop operates as a highly coordinated security grid, governed by a strict hierarchy to regulate internal stress and efficiently distribute resources. As opportunistic omnivores, they are built for metabolic efficiency. Equipped with specialized cheek pouches, they rapidly harvest and store calories from grass corms to invertebrates, minimizing their time in vulnerable foraging postures. For the baboon, the troop itself is the ultimate biological fortress against the savannah. The savannah's apex guild operates on strict energetic partitioning. Leopards utilize fast-twitch muscle fibers for solitary, short-range ambushes. Lions leverage collective mass and explosive kinetic bursts to overpower heavy targets. In stark contrast, the spotted hyena engineers a completely different metabolic strategy.
The spotted hyena is an elite cursorial hunter. Contradicting the scavenger myth, their skeletal anatomy, featuring an angled spine and robust forequarters, is mechanically optimized to minimize caloric expenditure over extreme distances. For juvenile baboons, play is strictly physiological. It is an evolutionary rehearsal, hardwiring the motor skills and spatial awareness required for savanna survival. A solitary hyena registers this neural activity. Despite possessing a bone-crushing bite force of 1100 psi, it triggers a rigid risk assessment matrix rather than a blind ambush. The juveniles remain securely within the troop's defensive perimeter. Adult male baboons, armed with canine teeth longer than a leopard's, form a lethal biological barrier. Hunting here demands absolute geometric discipline. The hyena anchors itself at the boundary, conserving calories, waiting for a single spatial error to fracture the troop's integrity. The hyena's neural circuitry temporarily suppresses its predatory drive. Engaging a cohesive primate troop presents a mathematically unviable risk of catastrophic injury. The hyena operates on a strict metabolic budget. By anchoring in the thermal shadows, it conserves core energy while its auditory cortex continuously scans the troop's perimeter for statistical anomalies.
It is a biological weapon, fully primed for the strike, requiring only a single sensory trigger to unleash its kinetic payload. The prey's panic
could instantly trigger a coordinated counterattack from the adults. Patience eventually yields a geometric reward. A juvenile breaches the safety radius, severing its direct line of sight with the alpha sentinels. The biological fortress has fractured. The wait is over. The hyena initiates a complex acoustic protocol. It emits a low-frequency vocalization optimized to bypass atmospheric distortion. This signal traverses the savannah, triangulating its coordinates and summoning the clan's strike force. For the maternal baboon, carrying a juvenile introduces severe parasitic drag. The added mass disrupts her locomotor efficiency, accelerating cardiovascular fatigue.
The maternal baboon's center of gravity is critically shifted, forcing her core musculature into overdrive to maintain balance during high-speed evasion. Simultaneously, physical contact with the infant restricts thermal dissipation, driving the mother's core temperature toward critical limits with every stride. On open ground, the evolutionary mismatch is exposed. The hyena pack operates as an aerobic engine, utilizing their oversized lungs to process massive volumes of oxygen, turning the chase into a calculated war of physiological attrition. The savannah's hardened terrain becomes a hostile variable in this high-speed pursuit. Unpredictable microtopography drastically elevates the probability of a fatal kinematic failure. This is not a chaotic sprint, it is active vector control. The pack deploys a pincer movement, dynamically adjusting their pursuit angles to cut off all spatial trajectories and completely isolate the target. The baboon's fast-twitch muscle fibers cross the critical anaerobic threshold. Lactic acid floods her system, systematically impairing motor neuron functions. Her physical collapse is now dictated purely by cellular chemistry. With ATP reserves critically depleted, the electrochemical signals misfire. Every subsequent stride exponentially loses velocity, finalizing a mechanical deceleration that cannot be reversed. Cornered by the hyena pack, the geometric trap strictly closes around the mother and infant baboon. Cortisol saturates the primate's bloodstream as flight transitions into a futile defensive stand. In the savannah's unforgiving algorithm, this transfer of biomass is now mathematically inevitable. The acoustic distress signals have not dissipated in the void. Driven by the evolutionary imperative of kin selection, the main primate troop converges. This is not altruism. It is the ruthless protection of shared genetic material. Alpha male baboons spearhead the counteroffensive. Armed with razor-sharp canines measuring up to 2 inches, surpassing those of an adult leopard, they deploy a formidable biological arsenal. The baboon troop initiates aggressive mobbing, a coordinated tactical assault designed to overwhelm the hyena's sensory processing. Completely overpowered by the baboon's collective biological arsenal, the hyenas are definitively defeated. The hyenas scramble in a desperate sprint, burning their final metabolic reserves to evade fatal lacerations from the alpha male baboons. The baboon's geometric fortress is aggressively re-established, and the transfer of biomass is definitively denied. The baboons must now purge the toxic levels of cortisol from their neural pathways. To achieve this, they engage in allogrooming, a highly evolved social mechanism that triggers the rapid release of oxytocin and endorphins, chemically restoring homeostasis. This tactile interaction transcends hygiene. It is the structural glue of their primate architecture. By reinforcing these interpersonal bonds, they solidify the exact geometric matrix that just saved their lineage. Their true apex weapon is not their canines, but their synchronized neurobiology. For the defeated hyena pack, there is no psychological mourning, only severe physiological consequence. The aborted pursuit has critically depleted their hepatic glycogen stores. Lactic acid pools in their overexerted muscle tissues, and the sudden crash in adrenaline leaves them mechanically sluggish. They must now navigate the hostile terrain with a heavily compromised energy budget. Stretching across the equator, this is not merely a landmass. It is a tectonic crucible, the original biological engine of planet Earth. Forged by extreme thermodynamic shifts, Africa sustains the greatest concentration of megafauna in existence. Here, every drop of water is fiercely contested. To survive this landscape is to master the ultimate evolutionary algorithm. Where the grass turns to dust, there are kings crowned not in gold, but in scarred horn. The Cape buffalo carries the ancient wrath of the earth, a looming shadow that simply refuses to bow. And across the silence, the golden ghosts of the savannah hold their breath. The lionesses do not merely stalk, they perform a silent, deadly waltz with the wind, melting into the mirage. This is no longer a hunt. It is a primal vendetta written in the dust. The air grows impossibly thick, waiting for a single heartbeat to shatter the peace. An unyielding wall of wrath, seemingly unbroken, but the golden ghosts know, even the mightiest fortress of flesh and bone harbors a fatal flaw. At the water's edge, a fragile life lowers its head, momentarily stepping out from the shadow of the fortress. For the golden ghosts, this innocence is not to be pitied. It is the perfect seam in the armor, the ultimate irresistible invitation. An agonizing, desperate cry shatters the tranquility of the plains. The ancient kings lift their crowned heads. The agony of one ignites the slumbering fury of the collective. Bound by an unbreakable covenant, the fortress charges. An avalanche of black muscle and scarred bone surges across the dust, bringing the earth-shattering wrath of the herd to rescue their own. Like black arrows loosed from the bow of the earth itself, thousands of scarred kings descend. This is the wrath of the collective, moving with terrifying, unstoppable singularity. In a solitary duel, the feline shadow is an unparalleled sovereign of death. But in the face of an endless ocean of horn and muscle, individual supremacy is utterly consumed. The Black Fortress closes its walls, crushing the golden ghosts beneath the sheer weight of numbers. To bleed in the wild is a sentence of slow death. Forced to weigh the heavy price of a meal against their own lives, the apex tacticians make a bitter choice. They relinquish their prize. Survival demands the surrender of pride. But the covenant of the herd demands retribution. The withdrawal of the enemy does not extinguish the flames. In a spectacular reversal of the natural order, the prey becomes the relentless punisher. The hunters are swept away by a tidal wave of vengeance. Stripped of their crown, the undisputed monarchs of the plains are forced into a humiliating exile, seeking refuge in the branches above. Below them, the sea of horns roars in absolute glorious triumph. The golden ghosts watch from their wooden exile. Their pride is severely bruised, but their lives remain intact. In the grand theater of the wild, defeat is never a disgrace. It is simply the heavy toll of tomorrow. The dust of chaos settles into the earth. The kings will graze, the ghosts will hunt again, and the unforgiving, beautifully ruthless rhythm of Africa plays on. As the golden light pierces the acacia canopy, the savannah exhales the chill of the night. High above the dust, a vibrant arboreal society awakens. For the agile residents of this leafy kingdom, dawn is a time of intricate social bonding and relentless foraging. Protected by the dense labyrinth of branches, they believe themselves untouchable, but the canopy is a treacherous illusion of safety. By venturing to the exposed edge of the leaves, a single individual has just stepped onto nature's most unforgiving stage. Thousands of feet above, drifting silently on rising thermals, the true sovereign of the skies looks down, the martial eagle, a majestic titan of the air. It does not patrol, it reigns supreme. Endowed with vision multiple times more acute than a human's, its eyes act as biological telescopes. From the stratosphere, it isolates a single rustle of a leaf. The target is locked. The execution is calculated. Folding its massive wings, the eagle weaponizes gravity itself. It transforms from a soaring monarch into a biological missile, plummeting towards the canopy at terrifying terminal velocity. In a fraction of a second, the struggle ends. Lifted effortlessly into the abyss of the sky, the primate's fate is sealed. Down below, the canopy falls into a traumatized, deathly silence. But nature carries no malice. This violent execution is merely a biological transaction. High atop the world, the fallen monkey serves its ultimate ecological purpose, fueling the relentless growth of the next generation of kings. Beyond its raw power, the eagle remains one of evolution's most mysterious masterpieces. Its talons exert a crushing force capable of snapping bone instantly, an anatomical perfection refined over millions of years of predatory dominance. It asks no permission. It recognizes no borders. In the grand, unyielding tapestry of the savannah, the eagle stands as the ultimate arbiter of the skies, a majestic phantom, ruling the winds until the end of time. Spanning across the equator lies a biological engine that has run uninterrupted for over 50 million years. Welcome to the tropical forest. Driven by constant equatorial temperatures, the rapid cycle of growth and decay transforms this ecosystem into the most productive biome on Earth. It is a theater of quiet prosperity. Apex predators emerge through the foliage, moving with biomechanical precision, where dense flora amplifies the slightest rustle. Each footstep is calculated to erase all acoustic signatures. Terrestrial herbivores emerge through the foliage, moving with biomechanical efficiency. In a biome where noise attracts danger, each footstep is carefully calculated to minimize acoustic signatures. Here, the predator and the hunted are locked in a continuous evolutionary arms race, acting as a biological regulator that maintains the complex rhythm of the jungle. In these tannin-rich aquatic arteries where optical visibility is rendered obsolete, aquatic organisms rely entirely on specialized mechanoreceptors to decode microscopic fluid displacements, mastering this turbid environment through a highly evolved hydroacoustic awareness. In these turbid depths, the red-bellied piranha operates as a specialized opportunistic predator. Evolved olfactory pits decode the water chemistry, isolating blood-borne amino acids at a mere 1 part per million. Their anatomy is a masterpiece of lethal biomechanics. Hypertrophied jaw muscles drive interlocking tricuspid teeth. This architecture generates bite forces 30 times their weight, applying catastrophic shear stress to sever tissue and bone in milliseconds. Biologically, their dense schooling acts as a defensive matrix. Yet, this formation harbors a latent, highly coordinated potential, constantly scanning the turbid water for acoustic or chemical anomalies. Moving as a synchronized superorganism, they process low-frequency hydrodynamic shifts. The swarm maintains absolute discipline, acting as a dormant strike force waiting for the precise environmental trigger. Even while simply patrolling, they assert their role as the river's ultimate biological regulators. Their continuous presence ensures ecosystem stability, a dormant engine prepared to process any organic biomass the currents may bring. To navigate these dense aquatic arteries, the school utilizes advanced fluid dynamics. By moving in a synchronized lattice, trailing individuals exploit the slipstream, minimizing hydrodynamic drag and conserving vital metabolic energy during extended patrols. Above the waterline, the riparian zone forms a critical ecotone, a biological frontier where terrestrial and aquatic biomes collide. Organisms here enter a state of calculated dormancy. They utilize solar radiation to optimize muscle enzyme efficiency, preloading their biomechanical systems for explosive kinetic output. Dominating this ecotone is the crocodile. Currently, it engages in ectothermic thermoregulation, utilizing highly vascularized osteoderms to absorb solar radiation. This process elevates its core metabolic rate, priming muscle enzymes for peak kinetic output. Submerging triggers a physiological lockdown. A cardiac shunt isolates oxygen solely for the brain, while precise lung compression achieves perfect neutral buoyancy. The crocodile vanishes into the strike zone. Gliding through the turbid water, the crocodile breaches a critical biological boundary. A microscopic epidermal tear releases a chemical signature of blood-borne amino acids, directly shattering the piranha's sensory threshold. The dormant piranha formation instantly weaponizes. Guided by hydrodynamic tracking, the fish bypass the crocodile's dense osteoderms, hyper-focusing their assault on unarmored vulnerabilities, the eyes, cloaca, and soft connective tissues. The piranha's assault is a relentless mechanical shredding process. Hundreds of hypertrophied jaws apply catastrophic shear stress to the crocodile, executing a high-speed rotational mechanism to systematically extract flesh in milliseconds. The crocodile's violent anaerobic thrashing induces rapid lactic acidosis. As its internal oxygen reserves completely collapse, the reptile is dismantled, ruthlessly processed by the piranhas, the river's ultimate biological incinerators. In a matter of minutes, the massive crocodilian is reduced to skeletal remnants. Its dense biomass is entirely assimilated into the piranha's metabolic network, a hyper-efficient transfer of organic energy. This violent dismantling is not an act of malice, but a critical ecological function. By processing the apex predator, the piranha swarm redistributes vital bionutrients back into the aquatic food web. The turbid waters return to a state of active tranquility. In this ruthless biome, survival is dictated by biomechanical perfection, where every end is simply the biological catalyst for a new beginning. Stretching along the eastern coast of Africa is Tanzania, a land dominated by the vast sun-baked plains of the savannah. Beneath the relentless heat, life carries on in a quiet rhythm, creating a fragile illusion of absolute peace. The antelopes are already on the move. Gliding effortlessly across the vast plains, their journey is a picture of quiet grace. With slender frames shaped by nature, every leap is light and rhythmic, moving in perfect harmony with the pulse of the earth. Not far away, a vast procession moves gently across the plains. The wildebeest. The rumble of their hooves sounds like the heartbeat of the earth, an eternal, peaceful cycle. Flowing with relentless grace, these wild waters carve a deep rift across the earth, a line of destiny they cannot refuse. For beneath its mesmerizing flow, a deadly test quietly waits. Right in the river, the apex predator is already in position, a giant crocodile. It doesn't chase, it calculates. Hidden beneath the murky surface, it waits for one fatal mistake. It doesn't chase, it calculates. Hidden beneath the murky surface, it waits for one fatal mistake. Thousands of wildebeest and antelopes crowd the steep, muddy banks, driven by an ancient urge to migrate, yet paralyzed by the raw, violent power of the surging currents. Panic ripples through the ranks. But the raging water is only a distraction. Below the surface, an ancient syndicate has formed, a congregation of giant crocodiles. Cold-blooded and perfectly adapted, they conserve every ounce of energy. Camouflaged against the riverbed, they form a living minefield. The ultimate ambush is set. Tension reaches a breaking point. It only takes one pioneer to shatter the hesitation. Instantly, blind herd mentality takes over. Hundreds launch themselves into the treacherous currents, completely unaware that they are jumping straight into the jaws of death. It is a chaotic frenzy of flailing hooves and panicked cries. Biologically, their hollow hair provides natural buoyancy, a vital adaptation for river crossings. But buoyancy offers no defense against what waits below. The churning rapids mask the silent, deadly approach of the apex predators. For the herd, the only focus is the opposite bank, but every second fighting the current drains their stamina. Blinded by the splashing white water and deafened by the roar of the herd, their keen senses are rendered utterly useless. They are swimming blind, offering the perfect cover for a prehistoric strike. They fight desperately to survive, but in this unforgiving river, their sheer will to live is leading them straight into the jaws of death. And the giant crocodiles do not rush. They are masters of calculating energy. There is no turning back. Propelled by the sheer weight of the endless herd behind them, thousands pour into the river like a living waterfall of flesh and bone. The water becomes instantly choked with bodies in panic. It is a spectacle of mass desperation, and for the waiting prehistoric giants, this is no longer a hunt. It is a feast delivered right to their domain. The giant crocodiles let the river do the heavy lifting. The trap has been sprung. In this brutal theater of nature, not everyone will make it to the other side. Panic erupts. The illusion of safety shatters as the river reveals its true nature. Beneath the surface, the strike is clinical and devastating. Giant crocodiles target the slender legs of their prey. A calculated tactic to instantly disable mobility, dragging them into the suffocating depths. The river turns into a boiling cauldron of predator and prey. With jaws exerting tons of pressure, the crocodiles lock on. The antelopes fight with every ounce of their being, but in this aquatic arena, raw, evolutionary power favors the reptiles. While some fall, the vast majority push forward. With one last surge, they scramble up the banks, escaping the river of death. The onslaught is relentless. The giant crocodiles execute the notorious death roll, a brutal display of biomechanical perfection. The will to live can defy the odds. In the savage theater of the savannah, surviving today is the ultimate victory. The crossing is over for these fortunate few. They have run the gauntlet and cheated death with the heavy physical toll of survival. Safety is a temporary luxury. Here, on solid ground, the herd enters a crucial phase of recovery. Families reunite. Mothers gently nuzzle their calves, verifying their survival through scent and touch. There is no time to look back, no time to mourn the fallen. In the relentless rhythm of the savannah, grief is an anchor the hunted cannot afford to carry. There is a profound resilience in this stillness. For these animals, healing is not a medical process, but a silent act of endurance. They rest not to linger, but to prepare for the miles still ahead. Soon, the chaotic energy is replaced by the peaceful, rhythmic sound of grazing. Eating is more than sustenance. It is a grounding mechanism. Each bite of grass helps rebuild depleted energy reserves and restores the tranquil rhythm of the herd. There is a profound resilience in this stillness. For these animals, healing is not a medical process, but a silent act of endurance. They rest not to linger, but to prepare for the miles still ahead. Instinct commands them to keep moving. To fall behind the herd is to invite the deadly attention of land predators. Their sheer resilience is the true masterpiece of evolution. As the golden hour descends, the African sun casts a warm, forgiving light over this harsh landscape. As the golden hour descends, the African sun casts a warm, forgiving light over this harsh landscape. Today, the river exacted its toll, nourishing the apex reptiles lurking below, but the herd endures. The Great Migration continues, an eternal cycle of sacrifice and survival, marching ever forward into the fading light. Antarctica, a continent isolated by the unforgiving circumpolar current, holding 70% of Earth's fresh water within a frozen desert. Here, the cryosphere dictates all biological rhythms. During winter, the sea ice expands to cover an area larger than the continent itself, effectively doubling Earth's reflective surface. This extreme albedo effect plummets temperatures drastically, while the rapid cooling of high-altitude air generates relentless katabatic winds that sculpt the frozen topography. Yet, this freezing and dynamic matrix is far from a dead zone. Nutrient-rich upwellings driven by the ice mechanics fuel a massive hidden marine ecosystem beneath the surface. Piercing the ice canopy reveals a subglacial realm where the physical rules of survival are entirely rewritten. Here, the ocean remains liquid at sub-zero temperatures, stabilized by extreme salinity and crushing hydrostatic pressure. In this twilight zone, the base of the food web operates entirely suspended in the water column. Vast clouds of drifting microorganisms are systematically harvested by highly efficient filter-feeding swarms, instantly converting primary biomass into dense mobile protein. To inhabit this freezing abyss, the residents have evolved biochemical miracles. Many predators circulate antifreeze glycoproteins within their bloodstream, preventing the crystallization of cellular fluids while operating at a radically reduced metabolic pace. This subglacial ocean operates not as a chaotic battleground, but as a synchronized ecological network. There is no wasted motion, ensuring absolute efficiency in a resource-limited habitat. Beneath the static, frozen shell of Antarctica, a finely tuned biological engine quietly sustains the perpetual cycle of life. Vision loses its power in these dark depths. Survival now depends on an extraordinary sensitivity to water movement. Both predators and prey feel the faintest vibrations, reading invisible waves to pinpoint each other in the pitch black. On the ice, the colony acts as a single thermoregulatory unit. Tightly huddling minimizes their surface area, creating a microclimate to resist extreme heat loss. But their high metabolic rates demand constant refueling. Leaping into the freezing ocean to hunt, the penguins transform instantly. Water pressure compresses their feathers, shifting their biomechanics, turning clumsy walkers into streamlined, high-speed marine predators in pursuit of prey. Plunging into the deep triggers an extreme biological response. Their heart rate plummets from 200 to just 20 beats per minute, heavily conserving internal oxygen for a prolonged hunt. Capture is instantaneous. Backward-facing barbs inside their beaks secure the struggling catch. They consume the biomass mid-swim, maintaining a flawless hydrodynamic profile to seamlessly continue the assault. Above the waterline, there is no biological refuge. Relentless katabatic winds strip heat instantly from any exposed tissue, enforcing a brutal thermodynamic rule. In Antarctica, the surface is never a sanctuary. It is only a brief necessity. In the shadows of the ice, a completely different biological machine awaits. The seal utilizes countershading, a dark dorsal profile that renders it virtually invisible against the deep abyss. It does not rely solely on sight. Highly innervated vibrissae on its snout detect the exact hydrodynamic wakes left by the swimming penguins, tracking their spatial signatures in the water. Positioned below, it exploits the bird's visual blind spots. Locking onto their trajectory, the predator converts its massive mass into kinetic energy, executing a sudden lethal vertical strike. The pursuit ignites. The seal propels its massive frame forward, overcoming immense water resistance through raw muscular output. In open water, its top speed rivals the penguins, turning the ocean into a high-speed ballistic corridor. But the penguin holds a critical biomechanical advantage, a superior turning radius. Possessing lower mass and inertia, the bird executes hairpin maneuvers. It uses its stiff tail and flippers as hydrodynamic rudders to abruptly alter its vector. The seal's greater mass becomes a physical liability in sharp turns. However, it compensates with sheer acceleration. This relentless chase pushes both animals into anaerobic respiration. Lactic acid floods their muscles as they burn through their finite oxygen reserves. This is a contest defined by fractions of a second. Survival is no longer just about speed, but about outlasting the predator's physiological limits. In this evolutionary arms race, every micro-adjustment determines who survives and who fuels the ecosystem. The high-speed pursuit is abruptly shattered by a tectonic shift in water pressure. Low-frequency infrasound vibrations capable of traveling hundreds of kilometers reverberates through the seal's skeletal structure. Something colossal is ascending from the abyssal zone. The blue whale, the largest biological mass ever to exist on Earth. While its anatomy dictates a strict diet of krill, not seals, its sheer scale turns the ocean into a hazardous vortex. It has arrived to exploit the exact same nutrient-dense swarms that drew the smaller predators here. Executing a massive kinematic lunge, the leviathan unhinges its jaws. Its ventral pleats expand exponentially, engulfing up to 90 tons of water and biomass in mere seconds. The seal is instantly caught, not targeted as prey, but trapped as collateral damage within this catastrophic hydrostatic vacuum. Battling a hydrodynamic pull equivalent to a violent undertow, the seal must abort its own hunt, pushing its anaerobic threshold to the absolute limit. It uses maximum muscular torque to propel itself out of the engulfment zone, escaping just milliseconds before the dense baleen plates clamp shut. The predator becomes the fugitive. In the hyper-competitive waters of the Southern Ocean, survival is dictated not only by speed and agility, but by navigating the indifferent, overwhelming mechanics of the ocean's true titans. The light fades, and the polar night reclaims the ice. Above, a frozen, absolute silence. But below, the biological pulse never stops. In the deep dark of Antarctica, the brutal ballet of survival dances on. A realm forged in fractured stone and suffocating ice. Welcome to the roof of the world. Up here, oxygen is a luxury, and the cold is a ruthless executioner. Yet, clinging to the edge of the abyss, a herd of mountain goats, phantoms of the high alpine, navigating a 60-degree death drop as if it were a casual stroll. But surviving the extremes is only half the battle. This young goat drinks a liquid lifeline. The mother's fat-rich milk acts as a metabolic furnace. For the mountain antelope, extreme altitude is their armor. They retreat to these treacherous ridges to escape the jaws of ground-dwelling predators. Safe above the tree line, they believe they are untouchable. Enter the golden eagle, an apex avian assassin with a 7-foot wingspan, riding the invisible thermal updrafts with effortless, terrifying precision. Forced to cross deep snow, the antelope's greatest defense, their speed, is instantly stripped away. They are vulnerable. High above the clouds, the winged Terminator locks onto her target. The ambush is set. As the snow retreats, the brutal mountain reveals a softer side. This highland valley transforms from a frozen wasteland into a fleeting oasis of life. The warming sun triggers an explosion of nutrient-dense vegetation across the slopes, a temporary feast, served on a grand scale. What looks like idle rest is actually hard metabolic work. They ruminate, maximizing the nutrient extraction from every single blade of grass. Emerging from months of winter fasting, the brown bear is driven by a singular, overwhelming urge, hyperphagia, an insatiable, biological need to consume. The river, it is a vital artery of life, but also a fiercely contested arena. Here, strict hierarchies dictate survival. Catching them requires explosive acceleration. Despite weighing over 800 pounds, a grizzly can strike with astonishing liquid speed. Each bear employs a distinct strategy. Some stand like statues, instinctively calculating the optical refraction of the water to gauge the exact depth of their prey. Others rely on brute force, pinning the muscular, slippery fish directly to the riverbed. In times of abundance, the bears become selective gourmets. They prioritize the skin, brains, and roe the parts richest in essential fats. Sated, the titans retreat to the shores. The frantic urgency subsides, replaced by the heavy lethargy of digestion. Driven by an insatiable biological imperative, this apex predator patrols the treacherous alpine slopes. Every calorie burned climbing must be replaced with flesh. The mountain goats detect a disturbance in the landscape. A massive silhouette breaking the horizon. The ambush breaks, accelerating with terrifying speed. The mother mountain goat and her young kid are driven to the absolute edge. They retreat onto a fragile, overhanging branch. The grizzly bear brings 1,000 pounds of lethal force, but physics is the ultimate equalizer. As the immediate threat dissipates, adrenaline slowly gives way to exhaustion. Bathed in the golden glow of the alpine sunset, the mother mountain goat and her young kid reclaim their sanctuary. In this unforgiving vertical kingdom, life is a delicate, razor-thin balance, where one calculated step dictates who lives to see another dawn. For months, this fractured Earth has endured a state of suspended animation. This is not merely a change in weather, but as barometric pressure plummets, a volatile chemical signal rides the incoming winds. It is a violent continent-wide biological awakening. Down below, the larger herbivores anchor themselves against the blinding dust squalls. They do not flee. High in the canopy, intricate avian architecture faces its ultimate mechanical stress test. Then, the atmospheric dam breaks. Millions of gallons of water crash against the parched soil, instantly supercooling the savannah and washing away months of desperate endurance. Amidst the deluge, a quiet biological marvel unfolds. Transforming her feathers into a living, hydrophobic canopy, she does not merely block the rain. She radiates life-saving endothermic heat, turning her own fragile body into an absolute sanctuary. As the storm's initial fury softens into a steady, life-giving rhythm, the savannah's smallest residents emerge from their sanctuaries. The deluge is no longer a threat. It is an evolutionary spa. Embracing the sudden moisture, they engage in a meticulous, instinctual ritual. As the storm clouds fracture, the saturated earth responds with an explosive biological bloom. The savannah is instantly flush with invertebrate life. Driven by the insatiable metabolic demands of their growing chicks, the parents are locked in an exhausting cycle of aerial foraging. Every delivery of high-yield protein is a delicate calculation of energy spent versus energy gained. Dawn breaks over the African savannah, igniting a timeless crucible of life. Peace is merely a fleeting illusion, and survival is a currency earned by the second. The wildebeest begin their restless harvest. They are the chaotic engine of these plains, dynamic lawnmowers transforming dust into life. The giraffe, an evolutionary masterpiece. By conquering the canopy, they exploit resources untouched by rivals, operating as the savannah's living watchtowers. In this empire, a war is coming. A zebra's stripes are not for beauty. They are a calculated defense, a blinding canvas of motion dazzle, designed to shatter a predator's depth perception. A few miles away, the river provides a brief sanctuary. Spotted hyenas, often misunderstood as mindless scavengers, They are, in fact, one of Africa's most successful and highly intelligent predators. Here, in the water, they lower their core body temperature. It's not just play, it's preparation. But the hyenas' downtime abruptly ends. A shift in the breeze carries the scent of opportunity. Led by an alpha female, the clan locks onto their target. Their awkward gait is deeply deceptive. They aren't built for a quick sprint. They are relentless pursuit predators, engineered to run their prey into the ground. Blissfully unaware, the zebras continue their slow, rhythmic march. There is no tension here, just a peaceful drift across the wild plains. The hyenas halt. Now, the hunt begins. Oblivious to the eyes burning into them, the striped sentinels march on. Total silence, no iconic laughter. The hyenas use subtle ear flicks and body language to orchestrate their next move. The predators slip into the dry brush. Their spotted coats, acting as disruptive coloration, melt perfectly into the dappled shadows. They become ghosts in the grass. The zebra's pace slows. The heat breeds a false sense of security. The trap is set. The hyenas fan out, forming a wide crescent. A classic flanking maneuver to cut off escape routes. They don't need the perfect ambush. They just need panic. Once they force the zebras to scatter, the illusion breaks, and the hyenas will run their chosen target to absolute exhaustion. Muscles coil, hearts race. The savannah holds its breath as the hyenas prepare to unleash chaos. In a split second, the silence shatters as the hyenas break cover and charge towards the zebras. The zebras continue to graze. Each mouthful of grass drops their line of sight, anchoring them to the earth while danger coils just out of view. Suddenly, the hyenas surge forward. They launch their assault, closing the gap with terrifying efficiency. There is no roar, only the rapid thud of paws hitting the dry earth. A shift in the acoustic landscape alerts the zebras. Swiveling ears catch the approaching threat, and in an instant, grazing turns to flight. As the zebras sprint, their stripes merge into a dizzying wave of optical distortion, designed to confuse the hyenas' visual tracking. But the hyenas do not push for maximum speed. They settle into a rhythmic, relentless pursuit. Pounding across the plains, the zebras sprint for survival. The hyenas, built for unparalleled stamina, simply maintain their pace, slowly chipping away at the gap. The zebras push their massive lungs to the limit, pounding across the savannah in a desperate bid for distance. Believing they have gained enough ground, the zebras abruptly halt. They turn to observe and rely on their sharp eyesight to measure the remaining danger. It is a fatal miscalculation. The hyenas crest the ridge, bringing them right into striking range. Panic sets in. The zebras freeze. They stand completely still, locked in a state of high-stress paralysis. The hyenas complete their maneuver. The crescent closes into a tight circle, and the zebras are surrounded. The hyenas strike. They do not aim for the throat. They target the hind legs. A brutal tactic designed to cripple the zebra's mobility. Every bite is a calculated attempt to anchor a 1,000-pound animal to the earth. The savannah watches. To them, the zebra's fight means one thing: the hyenas are occupied, and the plains are temporarily safe. But the zebras are far from defenseless. Driven by pure adrenaline, they fight back. A zebra's hind kick delivers over 2,000 pounds of force, enough to instantly shatter a predator's skull. They group together, turning their defensive panic into an offensive wall of striking hooves and snapping teeth. The math changes. Facing an unacceptable risk of severe injury, the hyena's assault is broken. The wild absorbs the violence, remaining entirely indifferent to the struggles of its inhabitants. Silence slowly reclaims the landscape. Beaten and exhausted, the hyenas retreat. In the wild, Every hunt is an economic equation. When the cost of energy and the risk of physical damage outweigh the reward, predators must yield. They walk away with empty stomachs, preserving their lives for the next pursuit. For the zebras, survival comes with a price. They gather to tend to the injured. This behavior, known as allogrooming, is about much more than cleaning wounds. The physical contact releases endorphins, lowering their heart rates and rapidly neutralizing the trauma of the battle. Their social bond is the true key to their resilience. As the sun dips below the horizon, the temperature drops, and the rules of the savannah transform. Day transitions to dusk, painting the sky in fiery hues. The failing light will soon strip the zebras of their visual advantage. It is a brief moment of tranquility, the closing chapter of today's crucible. The Masai Mara, an ancient sea of grass, bound by the unforgiving extremes of the dry season. Surface water evaporates, and usable plant biomass drops rapidly. Every organism here operates near its physiological limit. Survival under this equatorial sun demands strict thermoregulation. Energy is hoarded, movement is calculated. The waiting game begins. Scattered across this baked topography, vast assemblies of herbivores maintain a fragile stasis. They serve as the ecosystem's primary processors, extracting fractional nutrients from sun-bleached cellulose. Processing this abrasive diet requires highly specialized digestive fermentation. Every movement is economized to maximize nutrient extraction while minimizing moisture loss under the relentless sun. Exposed on the open grass, the African rock python relies on disruptive camouflage. As a heavy-bodied ambush predator, it conserves energy by not chasing. Specialized pit organs along its jaw detect the infrared radiation of warm-blooded herbivores, mapping the environment through heat signatures. Nearby, the savannah's apex predators adopt a different strategy. The lion pride enters a state of physiological dormancy, resting up to 20 hours a day to prevent hyperthermia. Mammalian cooling systems deplete internal moisture reserves. The pride must replenish fluids, converging on the ecosystem's remaining surface water. The aquatic environment provides thermal stability and camouflage for ectotherms. The African rock python uses water to mask its scent, leaving only its infrared sensing pits exposed. Utilizing fluid dynamics, the python advances without surface disturbance. Engrossed in hydration, the lioness experiences complete sensory masking. The ectotherm enters critical strike range, entirely undetected. The heat-sensing pits lock onto the lioness's thermal signature. Evaluating the target's biological mass, the python coils its musculature, priming for an explosive kinetic strike. The strike is instantaneous. Propelled by massive axial muscles, the python breaks the surface, utilizing rapid kinetic momentum to immediately envelop the feline's torso within heavy, prehensile coils. With every exhalation the lioness makes, the muscular coils tighten. Thoracic compression restricts lung expansion, rapidly depleting cellular oxygen and flooding her muscles with paralyzing lactic acid. Immobilized, the lioness triggers a final survival mechanism: acoustic distress signals. Low-frequency calls are broadcasted to summon the pride. The python maintains its lethal grip, Sensory scales track the lioness's fading heartbeat, pinpointing the exact moment of physiological collapse. The distress call instantly ignites the pride. Over a ton of combined apex muscle surges forward in a massive synchronized charge, shaking the ground as they rush to the riverbank. Reaching the riverbank, the lion pride launches a coordinated defense. The lions target the python's spine with extreme bite force, physically breaking its heavy muscular contraction. Facing the entire lion pride, the python risks a fatal severed spine. The biological cost becomes too high. Survival instinct overrides the hunt, forcing the snake to release its grip and retreat. The lethal grip is broken. As oxygen rushes back into the lioness's depleted muscles, she survives thanks to the savannah's ultimate evolutionary weapon, the unified power of the lion pride. As the golden hour bathes the savannah, order returns to the pride. In the soft twilight, they engage in gentle social grooming. This tactile exchange is more than affection. It releases calming endorphins, weaving the chemical bonds that make the pride an unbreakable unit. The punishing heat dissipates, replaced by cool evening thermals. Sprawled across the earth, the apex predators embrace the stillness, their bodies seamlessly blending into the fading colors of the landscape. A fleeting moment of savanna poetry, yet their sensory network remains sharp. As dusk falls, the pride rests, conserving energy for the night. The savanna is not merely a landscape. It is a thermodynamic engine. Here, sunlight is the primary currency, driving a relentless biological economy. For apex predators, hunting is not an act of malice, but a strict calculation, waiting for the exact moment to seize that energy with minimal caloric waste. On these plains, herbivores act as living energy converters, guarded by a hypersensitive sensory network. As midday solar radiation peaks, the savanna's thermodynamics drastically shift. Optically, this arid matrix appears as a static, lifeless void, but this profound emptiness is a physical illusion. To survive, the flora utilizes microphyllae, minimizing leaf surface areas to halt transpiration and lock in cellular moisture. Navigating this arid matrix, herbivores optimize metabolic efficiency. Warthogs target underground tubers. These roots act as biological vaults, storing essential water and starch. Their cartilaginous snouts function as specialized excavators. A lioness's massive muscular frame generates lethal internal heat. By entering a state of deep metabolic conservation, she is actively supercharging her fast-twitch muscle fibers with glycogen. She is banking explosive kinetic energy, waiting for the thermal waves to dissipate and the perfect acoustic blind spot to open. Driven by the pressure of caloric intake, the warthog's biological radar is neutralized. The friction of excavating dry earth creates an auditory mask, perfectly concealing the approaching predator. The lioness utilizes retractable claws and specialized digital pads to absorb shock, effectively muting her footfalls across the brittle terrain. Relying on disruptive coloration to blend with the sun-bleached grass, She calculates the critical strike distance while navigating strictly downwind, ensuring her olfactory signature is blown away from the prey. The acoustic mask drops. Propelled by an explosive contraction of fast-twitch muscle fibers, the lioness accelerates to 80 kilometers per hour. The warthog's head snaps up, instantly flooding its visual cortex with the reality of the ambush. Panic triggers a massive adrenaline dump. The warthog flees with its tail erect, a biological flag coordinating the herd's chaotic dispersal. It employs erratic lateral evasion to shatter the feline's linear momentum. Igniting a spectacular high-speed pursuit, the warthog leverages evasive stamina, while the lion's ambush-engineered anatomy rapidly hits the anaerobic threshold, flooding her muscles with debilitating lactic acid. Plunging straight into a deep subterranean hole, the warthog completely removes itself from the surface battlefield. By retreating into the dark depths, it secures a definitive spatial advantage. The lioness aggressively reaches down the pit, but a feline's retractable claws are engineered for surface grappling, not heavy excavation. Safe in the depths, the warthog expands its ribcage, wedging its body against the earthen walls with immense isometric force. The lioness reaches blindly into the dark shaft, desperate to hook her prey. But the warthog has retreated deeper, moving well beyond the maximum extension of the feline's forelimbs. Her specialized claws swipe at empty dirt, completely failing to make contact. Confronted by this stark anatomical limit, the apex predator is rendered entirely powerless. Unable to extract a target she cannot even reach, she absorbs the metabolic loss and walks away, defeated by the sheer depth of the earth. Only when the surface vibrations fade does the warthog break its subterranean silence. A cautious snout emerges first, performing a rigorous olfactory sweep to definitively confirm the predator's scent has dissipated. Stepping back into the fading light, the animal undergoes a rapid physiological reset. The parasympathetic nervous system engages, flushing out residual cortisol and decelerating a heart rate that was just pushed to its absolute biological limits. As the golden hour washes over the arid scrub, the brush with death is simply swallowed by the dusk. The cycle resets, and another day is won in this perfectly balanced, ruthless matrix. The African savannah. Beneath this sweeping ocean of green lies a highly complex, invisible network of biological information, drifting on the air currents. On these plains, the fundamental law of natural selection is absolute. The strong survive, while the weak are eliminated. Pause 1S. It is a relentless biological filter, constantly testing the physical and mental limits of every individual. But this ruthless hierarchy extends far beyond predator and prey. Within the herd itself, the drive for genetic dominance creates a fierce internal rivalry. Resources and protection are privileges reserved only for the most capable. Nature affords no sentimentality. Whether targeted by rival species or marginalized by their own kind, the frail are systematically left behind, ensuring that only the apex genetics inherit the savannah. To claim the ultimate prize, the right to breed these massive Cape Buffalo bulls must face a brutal test of strength. When they collide, their thick bone shields, called the boss, absorb an impact force equivalent to a car crash. This clash is a brutal test of endurance. Their massive muscles burn through oxygen, pushing their hearts to the absolute limit. Only the strongest genetics will earn the right to lead the herd. But in the wild, there is only one winner. For the defeated bull, the physical pain is matched by a sudden drop in testosterone. Biology forces him to submit, shattering his pride. Forced out of the herd's protective circle, the fallen giant limps into the dry, unforgiving scrubland. The transition from a dominant alpha to an outcast is immediate and cruel. Alone, he loses the herd's collective eyes and ears. Without this early warning system, the once untouchable king is now dangerously exposed, an isolated target in a landscape full of predators. In the boundless expanse of the savannah, isolation is a slow, silent fading of existence. Yet, the wild is governed by unpredictable probabilities. The exiled male crosses paths with a solitary female, two fractured shadows drifting in the vastness. Drawn together by a quiet understanding, they form an intimate sanctuary. Instantly, their rhythms synchronize. 4 eyes and ears move in harmony not just to map threats, but to watch over one another, restoring a sense of safety they had both lost. As the perilous process of parturition anchors the female to the earth, the male makes a critical tactical decision. He physically separates himself from her side, leaving the immediate vicinity to assume the role of the ultimate sentinel. Ascending to higher ground, he exponentially expands his sensory radius. His cupped ears map acoustic anomalies, while flared nostrils aggressively sample thermal updrafts for microscopic chemical threats. But his elevated vantage point creates a fatal blind spot on the ground below. Drawn by the unmistakable olfactory signature of amniotic fluid, a solitary lioness has already breached their perimeter. The lioness begins her stalk, directly targeting this newly exposed gap in their defense. Compressing her spine and lowering her center of gravity, she utilizes the dry savanna grass as a dynamic optical illusion to camouflage her approach. Every padded step is mathematically calculated to absorb vibration and silence her approach. The lioness moves strictly downwind, ensuring her scent profile is blown away from the sentinel's sophisticated radar. Inch by inch, she bridges the gap. The lioness now waits within the strike zone, heavily focusing on the paralyzed mother, a ticking biological time bomb ready to detonate. The lioness launches a sudden strike, unleashing her pure hunting instinct. Her objective is simple: to find a vitamin-rich meal. Despite her sheer exhaustion, the buffalo fiercely fights back. She swings her heavy horns, battling not just for her own survival, but to protect the fragile heartbeat within her. She is enduring 2 agonies at once: the grueling toll of labor and the predator's deadly strike. A sudden shift in the wind delivers an invisible warning. Catching the scent of the predator and sensing the mortal danger to his mate, the male erupts in primal fury. Charging down the slope, gravity multiplies his kinetic energy, transforming nearly a ton of muscle into a runaway biological tank. Reaching maximum velocity, the male buffalo delivers a devastating blow. The massive kinetic force strikes the lioness directly, instantly crushing her predatory advantage with absolute muscle power. Built for stealth rather than absorbing heavy blunt force trauma, the lioness is staggered. Faced with the male buffalo's desperate defense of his partner, her survival instinct quickly overrides her hunger. Overwhelmed by this display of protective power, the lioness desperately retreats into the dense brush. The sanctuary for the mother and her unborn calf is safely reclaimed. The threat dissipates, and the savannah reclaims its tranquil rhythm. The mother completes the birthing process, successfully delivering her calf. Driven by a powerful surge of oxytocin, she establishes an immediate biological bond with her newborn. Within minutes, the newborn calf must be able to stand and walk. This is a critical survival trait for prey species on the open plains, the ability to move immediately to avoid lingering predators. Under the setting sun, the male buffalo maintains his strict guard. His massive size acts as a physical shield, providing a safe zone for the calf's first steps. The successful defense has secured the continuation of their bloodline. As the family of three walks together toward the horizon, a new generation begins its journey. The cycle of life on the savannah continues. The African savanna is a vast, semi-arid biome defined by the brutal thermal dynamics of the dry season. Here, primary productivity dictates the survival of the entire trophic cascade. At the apex of this food web, a biological clock is ticking. After a gestation period of roughly 110 days, this female lion, Panthera leo, must temporarily sever ties with her pride. Isolation is a crucial evolutionary strategy to protect her vulnerable offspring from infanticide and opportunistic predators. Before parturition, elevated levels of prolactin and oxytocin induce active nesting behavior. The expulsion phase yields a litter of altricial cubs, highly vulnerable neonates born immobile and with minimal metabolic reserves. The statistical reality of the savanna is unforgiving. Biologically, up to 80% of these cubs will not survive their first year. For the lioness and her offspring, continuous tactile stimulation serves vital physiological functions. Beyond oxytocin-mediated maternal bonding, the mother's rhythmic grooming provides mechanical friction that directly stimulates the cub's underdeveloped digestive and excretory systems. The cub's playful interactions are far from trivial. They are complex neuromuscular simulations. Through mock ambushes, they actively forge the synaptic pathways required for future apex predation. Meanwhile, the lioness maintains a hyper-vigilant perimeter, constantly analyzing chemical cues in the wind to intercept potential threats from rival carnivores. Beyond the protective brush, the savanna opens into a vast biochemical factory. The dominant flora here utilizes C4 photosynthesis, a highly efficient metabolic pathway evolved to maximize carbon fixation while minimizing water loss under intense ultraviolet radiation. This relentless engine of primary production forms the structural foundation of the entire biome. This convergence of nutrient-dense forage and accessible water generates one of the highest mammalian carrying capacities on Earth. For a lioness managing a severe caloric deficit, this hyper-abundant ecosystem is a calculated arena of thermodynamics. The savanna continuously generates the biological fuel. She must now deploy her biomechanics to extract it. Utilizing the dense riparian vegetation for optical camouflage, the lioness calculates her attack vector. Padded digits absorb acoustic vibrations, allowing for near-silent locomotion. The prey the lioness has chosen is a megaherbivore, hippopotamus amphibious. A brutal isometric struggle ensues. The lioness launches, sinking retractable claws into the hippo's thick epidermis to anchor herself, attempting a precision strike at the carotid artery. For several tense moments, the lioness leverages her entire body mass in a desperate bid to exhaust the megaherbivore. With a sudden explosive torque of its massive cervical muscles, the hippo violently breaks the stalemate. Utilizing its 1,800 pounds per square inches bite force to physically overpower and reject the apex predator. These hydrodynamic disturbances are immediately intercepted by Crocodilus niloticus, the Nile crocodile. Embedded along the reptile's jawline are specialized integumentary sense organs, ISOs, capable of detecting microscopic shifts in water pressure. Calculating the exact vector of the mammalian distress signals, the ectothermic predator initiates its stealth protocol, utilizing bradycardia to drastically lower its heart rate. Propelled by massive axial musculature, the crocodile initiates a kinetic ambush, deploying a 5,000 pounds per square inches bite force designed to execute a fatal hydrodynamic death roll. Fueled by a sudden epinephrine surge, the lioness detonates her remaining fast-twitch muscle fibers for a lateral evasion, breaching the bank but incurring a devastating metabolic cost and severe lactic acid buildup. Microtears in her musculoskeletal system and severe lactic acidosis heavily compromise the lioness's biomechanics, but the thermal currents carry a biochemical lifeline: volatile organic compounds from a recently deceased carcass. Securing this abandoned biomass is a thermodynamic anomaly, a massive caloric intake with zero kinetic expenditure from hunting. Driven by the maternal imperative, the lioness secures the payload, initiating the grueling transport back to the den to convert this protein into life-sustaining lactation for her cubs. As atmospheric scattering paints the savanna in low-frequency red light, the surface temperature rapidly plummets. These photoperiodic cues officially trigger the ecosystem's nocturnal cycle, defying the brutal thermodynamics of this biome. The lioness has successfully secured another day of cellular growth for her offspring.